The next criterion for this application is the Project Plan and Readiness section. So for this first section of the Project Plan and Readiness section, you want to describe what your plan is for implementing the project. So you're going to be outlining your proposed goals, what you need to do to reach each goal, what your timeline is. You want to break it down by each goal and what you expect to achieve out of this project. Some things that you want to attach to the application for this section are any permits that you already have. If there's permits that you're going to need that you don't already have, you want to talk about those. Any other agency commitments? So we're talking about, do you have grant funds from anyone else? Have you spoken with any other agencies that are going to be involved in the project? For instance, if you have a landfill project, have you contacted DEC, the Department of Environmental Conservation? Anybody else that you've talked to regarding this project? Do you have site control? So do you have a deed or a lease for your piece of property you're trying to construct on? If this is construction funding you're looking for, you want to attach the design, fire marshal approval if you have it, anything that shows us what you already have in place. So this next section is you're going to be talking about what you've already done and how ready your project is. So what have you accomplished so far? Do you own the land? Have you been in contact with other agencies about what kind of permits you're going to be needing? Do you have a feasibility study? All these different things. We're looking at what you've done so far to get your project ready to go. This page kind of guides you a little bit more specifically through some things that you might have already accomplished so far and your timeline and all that. So first, the proposed project start date. This is going to be after you finish your environmental review. You're going to have to go through an environmental review process if you are awarded. So sometimes that can take several months. So you want to keep that in mind when you are proposing a start date for your project. This section in the middle here talks about some documentation that you may or may not have that you will want to attach if you do have it. So, look through each one of these things and make sure you really think about what you can attach to your application. This bottom section shows or gives you a chance to show other agencies or people who are involved in your project and who you've contacted about your project so far. So this next section, the top of it refers to site control. So this is a crucial element to your project. It's often something that prevents projects from moving forward. It's something that you're going to definitely have to have in place before you can move on with your project if your project is going to be using real property, so any construction or anything like that. You don't have to have site control to do a design, but we do suggest that you start thinking about that and start looking into where you would like your project to be sited. If you do have a project that's going to be using real property, you want to, in section A here, provide the legal description of the property. Your legal description is going to be the thing that's listed on your deed or your lease or your easement. It's going to look something like that top line there. The address of your property is not a legal description. Something that says it's estimated this many square feet for the landfill, that's not a legal description. We're looking for something that kind of looks like that top line there. And at the bottom of this page, it talks about the environmental review requirement. This is a really important thing and can really hang up some projects. For the CDBG program, in order to qualify for this program, after you submit your application, all project activity must stop. So if you're applying for funds for a project that is already underway, keep in mind that project is going to have to stop. All construction is going to have to stop, all payment, all pursuit of any site control. any agreements. No agreements can be signed until the environmental review process is complete. That can really be tough on some projects. So keep that in mind. All project activity must stop from the day you turn in your application until our office gives you clearance that you have completed the environmental review process. If you have any questions about this requirement, please contact us. But how that affects this page in particular is that we don't require you to have site control for a construction project at the time you apply. It'll help your application if you do, but it's not required. If you don't have site control by the time you have applied, sent in your application, you cannot obtain it until environmental review is complete. So you don't want to purchase any property, you don't want to enter into any lease agreements or anything like that until your environmental review is complete. So you want to have site control before you apply or after environmental review. You don't want to take care of it in that in-between time. So this is the scoring sheet for the project plan and readiness section. So again, these are the questions that the application selection committee is going to be using to review this section of your application. So review it before you submit and make sure you've got everything in line and have answered all those questions. Here are some tips and suggestions for the project plan and readiness section. First of all, use your experience with other projects to inform your plan for this one. So, where did things go well in the past? When did things not go as well? You want to have a realistic timeline and any experience you have in the past for where things might get caught up or snagged can help you create a realistic plan for this project. Next, identify strengths in your community and recognize your weaknesses. So what are you good at? Those are the things that you probably want to do in-house. In terms of weaknesses, if you don't, for instance, have a strong labor force in your community, you're probably going to want to contract out the project and not do local labor. If you don't have any employees that have much experience with project management, then you might want to hire an outside project manager for your project. Those are all things that you want to consider when you're figuring out exactly how you're going to implement this project. And finally, or not finally, also be specific. So use the names of individuals who are going to do certain things, how they're going to do them, and the dates they will be accomplished. And finally, you want to ask yourself if your goals are realistic. Are you going to actually be able to complete this project by following this plan? The selection committee is going to know if your timeline is too aggressive, or if your plan is not realistic. So, like we said before, identify and recognize your weaknesses. That's okay. Every community and every group has them. The question is, how are you going to overcome those and compensate for those to make sure that this project is successful?